Is that a photo on his desk? Yep. That's a face. I assume that's wife and kid, but at first glance I was like, what is the age of this wife? Because I definitely thought she was super young. It looks like kid and younger kid, kind of. But it's just like that expression is just like a grimace, more so than a smile. Huh. The Velatron Paita. Oh, it goes in a separate Paita inventory. Why is that? Why wouldn't I put this in the Paita case? I know it's a more unique item than the other ones or something, but isn't this where Paitas go? Looks the same. Different icon, obviously. Paita. It's a powerful word. On Olujay, Paitas only mount to labs. One-way glass windows. Black curtains. Locked doors. On top of the Belindi Hills, I run the operations in a place where all the magic happens. The people who live down our street believe what I do is his work. The thought, dust, aftermath of his beckoning. His machine breath. If I hear Smolak say this to me one more time, I swear I'll set up a Quilivian of my own and trap him inside it while he sleeps. Well, I am working on it, but it won't be no Quilivian, and I want to make sure he is conscious when the teleportation takes place. The bunker is already set up, just as Urtner instructed. Neyyah will provide what is needed. I struggle tonight with my thoughts. While I have successfully set up the Mayorta gas system and tested the orange Paita required to power it, I can't help but be reminded of the near-death experience that came as a result of not thinking clearly when testing it a month or two ago. I can't blame Talaiva for this incident. I knew a dispute would arise after telling her about certain precautions I have set up here at the lab. Wakara Security continue to insist that I upgrade the VED N80 security doors, even though I have gone down to their offices in person, explaining that I can maintain the systems myself. I'm sure Smolax is behind it, so I decided to block them on the Bannock system, and I understand Talaiva's irritation at what could only lead to more suspicion and problems from the powers above. I have noticed a change in her mood lately. While I'm aware she worries about me, I'm also sensing a growing resentment in her towards what my work entails. The sacrifice. The relentless thunderstorm above our heads. Rumbling, what if? My love, I will strive to make sure nothing happens to our family. We are so close now. 2 months ago, I had to escape the lab's Mayorta chamber. I reckon I have never climbed up a ladder so fast in all my life. The Mayorta gas erupted way too quickly after I miscalculated the Paita activation lever's speed in vaporizing the glass of the table, which keeps the Mayorta gas cloud contained. Memory doesn't serve me well as it used to, so I set up some posters to remind me to carry a mask on me at all times, whenever entering any of the Mayorta gas areas. I can't continue to dwell on the setback. Perhaps I'm tired. One of Talaiva's shoulder massagers would be perfect right now. Shoulder massagers, not massages, huh? So you'd think it'd be like her doing the massage, but massager implies a device? I'm very proud of my accomplishments, especially in tinkering with components of the tube portals. I remember attending one of the early expeditions to excavate the caves where the Mayorta gas had been discovered. I was a young man back then. I still recall the Benoxy screeches, my hands covered in green moss from the cave walls, as I steadied myself, traipsing down into the ink-black pools of darkness filling those ancient tunnels. I am glad Smolak's pushed for the tube portals to be created. They now serve a great purpose here on Neyyah. My adjustments to a specific tube portal have required the use of other devices. On the Bannock system, I have managed to keep locations of the tube portals classified. I can't hide the sensors very easily. This is why I need to keep as many people off Neyyah as possible. While I know Taliva is sick with frustration, I'm sure she understands. One side effect of the Mayorta gas eruption is that even with wearing a gas mask, somehow a vision will still take place. For a moment, I felt I was actually in the place I needed to teleport to, even though I'm only activating the tube portal in a moment. If I was to pursue further research into the Mayorta gas, I'm sure I could generate a teleportation from the very gas itself. I have tried hard to conceal my escape route from Neyyah, despite the use of the sensors. However, I decided not to set up a security camera console for it. Location will make itself known anyway once the Mayorta gas is released. And I believe the portal to the Velatron machine doesn't necessarily require a camera system either. I may dismantle this at some point. I could have saved Ertner the trouble of sending me a new camera system for the transportation tower's security code, and just use this one instead. I'll keep one of the Paitas here in my quarters for now, but I believe the key to my escape route back to Neyyah requires higher security and protection. Red ball. Yeah, we're leaning really heavily on the plot of Riven here. Down to the idea that they have their own special escape route. Like the Mist book from Riven. The fact that he's seemingly hiding his wife away, his wife and child somewhere else, away from the threat of Gen. Which is a bit like how, God, what was the name of that place? The lake place where all of Tiana's people were hiding. Because there's a separate location set in that. And then, of course, the master plan is about tricking the villain into a special form of transportation that'll trap him somewhere, just like what you try to do with the linking books with Gen in Riven. And yeah, in Riven, Gen is trapped in Riven, and he's trying to escape Riven. That's his big mission he's been working on for years, is to escape Riven. And so you use the idea that he's finally able to escape Riven as bait to trick him into trapping himself. And it seems like the same thing's happening here, where the antagonist is trying to leave this place and exploiting it all to the best of his ability in the process, in a way akin to like Factorio and Satisfactory and I guess like also Riven. In his pursuit of trying to escape this place. It stands out to me that even Talaiva is kind of similar to the name Tiana, which is Catherine's real... No, it's not. No, her name's Catherine. Atris's wife is named Catherine. Her real name is Katran, which Atris mispronounces, and then continues to mispronounce for the rest of their marriage, despite it not being what her name is, which is a wild bit of characterization. He just refused to learn his own wife's real name, and she just had to just give up and take being called Catherine, which is not her name. Yeah, Tiana was Atris's grandmother. Because Atris's mom died in childbirth. That's a funny little quirk. You can see the journal still here in this camera angle. It's not separately set up to have it be gone when you already picked it up. I think it makes a lot of sense to make a game inspired by Myst and Riven and stuff like that. I do think that having the plot be so similar is a bit... that's going to be to the game's detriment, because everyone that is a fan of those games, like, you're making a game where the appeal is that almost everyone playing it is probably a fan of a specific other game that already, and they don't really get much like that ever. So it's a bit redundant to hit them with almost the same story, but it's also like you're inherently going to be inviting comparisons between your game and their game, so being actively similar is just going to draw attention to the extent to which it's similar, and we're just going to be directly comparing the quality of those two versions of the same similar kind of story, whereas just telling a wildly different story, but with like the mechanics and intrigue of Myst, is like really the goal you'd want to go for, I feel like. Like, you want to recreate the appeal of the games, the storytelling style, the puzzle solving style, the visual style, but not recreate literal plot beats while not necessarily nailing the other things that's in the same way. What do we got here? Reminder, send old pipes back to Olujay, possibly reuse in Lab 17. To Vamir Dahili, I apologize for the delay with the construction work on the Philitsu Dome. Not only have the sea levels risen around the Philitsu Island area, but it appears the heat has something to do with why my men seem so anxious as to the very thought of stepping foot on those old Fezaltian wooden walkways again. The suns turned their minds into Maleva dung. All they talk of is the voices in their heads whenever they step foot back on the docks here on Olujay. Those damned vines are also causing havoc on the scaffolding there. Maybe they can help bring down the rest of that wretched Fezaltian mess hall, or whatever it used to be. No matter. Kerhelta Volka beckons, and thus we shall answer and continue our work. I'm hoping the current state of the dome's technology is providing significant progress in your search for alternative power sources. I'm looking at strengthening the power of the blue crystal fences, too. Not only at the dome, but other areas of Neyyah Site 28. The vines seem eager to burn under them, rather than retreat back to those cursed waters. The elevator sector seems to be a stronghold against any natural forces these towers... The elevator sector seems to be a stronghold against any natural forces. These towers there are strong and perfect for protecting such important devices. Meanwhile, although I may require a new team to conduct the research required to get such work underway, I am quite eager to pursue matters in regards to finding alternative uses for the Billix tank oidals on the Philitsu Island. That old contraption needs to be brought down and new systems put in place to make use of that oil. While I understand you are quite preoccupied with other matters on Neyyah Site 28, if you do have a free moment to check what the levels at the tank might be, inform me and I'll see to putting some construction plans in place. I have also ceased work on the railway system linking the Levandis Crystal coastline and the Jalud station area of the arrival sector, for reasons I previously mentioned. While the Neyyah spores are fruitful on Neyyah Site 28, the place has caused me nothing but trouble. Let me know if the rail cart system is powered enough to get free from one side to the other. The Bannock's eye portals seem to be running at full capacity now. I just hope the propulsion mechanism currently installed on the rails doesn't make it too much of a bumpy trip. A stronger fuse system will suffice, replacing the current Jalud fuse installation required at the cart. I believe Neyyah Site 28 holds the key to evolving our technologies in ways we haven't thought possible. More than just throwing old Philitsu roots in cases of chemicals and hoping to see what power is squeezed from them. The more we can strip away at the Fezaltian corpse that continues to fester below our sanctuary, the stronger we will be. The closer we shall be to him, Smolax. We still haven't made it to that secret thing sticking out of the back that's like taunting us to keep reading. There's a special postcard in there. Oh, there's that icon we've seen before on the device. The current symbology depicted in the Billix tank emblem, where Olujay is joined with the lands of Fezalta, creates a bitter taste in my mouth. We shall definitely revise this design once we have the plans for a new system in place. I'm excited to push forward with ideas on how the oil can be used more effectively for our purposes here in Olujay. So that one place is the Billix tank. So that we have a context for that a little bit now. Olujay joined with Fezalta. I take it Olujay is the big green one and Fezalta is all those other pieces because they say lands of Fezalta. So he hates the symbol of unity shown here. Also, I am certain we had one of those oil canisters left behind by our betrayers. Maybe they took it with them when I threw the last of their damned souls into the Quilivian. So the Quilivian is a prison, then. We got a hint of that with the previous message, where he wants to build his own Quilivian. And maybe that's where the rest of maybe that's where the rest of the Fizaltans are? So maybe they're still in the Quilivian and they're alive, but they're imprisoned betrayers. And if our guy is able to succeed at betraying Smolax, then he'll free them and they'll take this place back over. But how long have they been in there if this place is actively decaying? That's a long time to be imprisoned, potentially. I know that's how long Gen was imprisoned, was for decades, but they had a mostly normally functioning place. And in their case, the world of Riven was disintegrating and losing stability in a overall way, not their infrastructure specifically, which is a supernatural concept that doesn't have a fixed timeline. Whereas like the rate at which metal rusts and stuff like that, and structures become ruins without that kind of interference, would take seemingly much longer and not just be like an active thing that's decaying in real time right when you're trying to do something in your lifetime in quite the same way. So it's I don't know. The timeline gets a little more confusing because it feels like the betrayal was more recently than the betrayal of Gen and Riven, and it feels like everything is decaying. The scenario we're in would take way longer to decay by comparison than it would be otherwise. I'm at least seemingly hitting the point where I'm at least able to like latch onto more of these terms and parse what they mean for the story. It means mostly disregarding all of the technical stuff about portals and stuff like that until I feel like I need them for specific puzzles. But I'm at least figuring out that some of these terms mean the land we're in, the specific factions, and some stuff there is starting to come through a little more cleaner. I wish I had a cleaner introduction to more of the narrative stuff before it got ground into obscured by so many of these technical details that it's often described alongside, because then I could have a better orientation of like what's going on in the plot and what I'm supposed to care about, and then I can worry about the puzzles and what all this other terminology means. Byzantine rail track, about the nudger / cart departure. Yeah, that reminds me, yeah, I sent a cart somewhere else. We'll have to see where that went. Hoping to remove the nudgers from the rail system once the old rail is fully demolished. Once fully operational, I can improve other rail systems across Neyyah Site 28, Smolax. So he wants to destroy these rail systems. Retractable buffer stop, more nudgers, Olujay rail trick. Okay, so that's Fizaltian and that's Olujay. So individual slats is the old rail system, and the one that represents the villain essentially is this like graded texture here, or grating texture. And I guess they have a system for stopping the carts so that you can switch over to the other rail in some way and then get moving again. That's what a lot of this is for, I presume. Is it always the middle? It's always the middle drawer. That's funny. To Vamir Dahili, the improvements you've made to my, what does that say? Irelta. To my Irelta gun are the finest I've seen in a while. I have noticed a far clearer and sharper aim when hunting down the Maleva cats. He's been hunting down the animals and killing them, just in case he didn't dislike them enough. He's like, and he kills the cats. I have not organized a hunting expedition on the Neyyah Site 28 for a while, as their population seemed to dwindle there, compared to the others areas of Fizalta. While I prefer the marble white walls to my temple, catching these plated beasts across various terrain below distracts me from the arduous work taking place at the Ronalda temple. After the betrayal and the battle which followed, they seem to have fled further into forested areas. Do not threaten, my dear Vamir. My Irelta only fires tranquilizers. I'm aware you don't agree with animals being experimented on, but in my eyes, it's no different than your plant tests. Once unconscious, the plated beasts are brought back to Olujay and marked. This way, I'm not repeating the procedure on the same animals. Maleva's cat's blood seems to contain a property which, when mixed with gulitium, accelerates the plasma generation of the Laflomian portal. I honestly believe this cat will be the answer to speeding up our work, ridding ourselves from this cursed place once and for all, and returning back to him. Let me know if you wanted to organize any hunting expeditions down on Neyyah Site 28. You would be most welcome. Maybe you'd wield the Erelta, I think it was. Maybe you'd wield the Grelta better than I can. I'm always up for a challenge, my dear Vamir. Smolax, Grelta. Wasn't ready for that one in cursive, I guess. I try to stay away from using the alternate text form just because it's just uglier, but it is obviously clearer. It just on some level, it's like there's an aesthetic choice being made, and I don't want to just opt out of it by always switching over to the plain text version. What do we have here? Alright, well, we know what to do here. These aren't necessarily puzzles, but they are indicators that this is a special piece of information that they specifically wanted to keep secret from people. I do find it funny that just in the other room, there's a journal about him, Vamir, saying he's going to portray Smolax, and that's not censored. But there's other notes around here that he does specifically write in Vanishing Ink. I'm like, maybe you should keep that other bit secret. Also, maybe you shouldn't keep a journal about how you're going to portray somebody. Honestly, that's just a poor choice. Like, I know the difference is that, like, it's just like, when you think about it, it would be weird to write a journal about that kind of stuff and then be like, oh, I better use the vanishing ink on it though, because it'd be like a really tedious way to write what is functionally just like a thought that you're having. You're just kind of having thoughts and writing them down for the sake of it, because the way that people journal, not necessarily meant to be read again, like as a kind of like review system. Although sometimes writing stuff down lets you decompress and compartmentalize and even remember things and so on. You know, the concept of journaling, I'm over-explaining that bit. But it is funny to then be using secret notes and knowing that you have to be covert because you're planning on betraying somebody, and they'd probably have you killed if they realized what you were doing. So there's all these notes around, and that's because these are notes meant to communicate a piece of information to someone else, but that person knows to reveal what's on the note via the salt, and like that's their whole system. It's just very funny to know that this is happening, and that this is necessary, but then right over there in the other room, he keeps a journal, which is uncensored, and he didn't think to maybe not keep a journal, which does create a problem for them, because this is a story that is about that, and they're trying to recreate the aesthetics of Myst, which means very occasional FMVs, but the vast majority of the story is told via, like, notes, and it's told asynchronously, like all the audio logs and Bioshock and stuff like that. Like, it's meant to be a thing you mostly learn about via all the notes you find in the journals. But that means that they have to convey a certain piece of information via a format that contradicts what's happening in the story a bit, because they're endangering themselves by keeping a journal about their plans. And in this case, it's not in his quote-unquote secret lab, it's in his regular lab. It's like this, as far as I understand, this is his normal lab with all his official computers. So it's like, it's one thing when the journal is sitting in his super secret lab that they've called a secret several times, so at least we're supposed to believe that people aren't finding it. If that place has journals about betraying Smolix, that makes sense. But it's just in his bedroom. Like, it's where a journal would normally be. It's literally just on his bed, next to the room where the secret notes are. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't be keeping notes about your plan to do treason there. That's not a great plan, unless his plan is to specifically get caught, and it's like a false message to lure him into something. But then if that was the case, then it would be misleading me, and that would get me into trouble as the protagonist a bit, or the the point of view character. Let's see. After you have fueled the Neyyah, go straight to the Neyyah heater chamber. I'll meet you there once I've accessed Neyyah system number 2 and lowered the Neyyah. Remember to keep the plasma shield open. I have a little experiment to conduct. One which Smolax would no doubt feed me to the Benoxy for. Vamir. This is part of the stuff that... Yeah, they're even talking about specifically I'll get in trouble for this. And I'm like, you'll get in trouble for the note in the other room about you betraying him and how much you're going to betray him. Is this where your coworker works? You have a real bed, but he sleeps on the floor? I thought you guys were best buds. Alright, so whose journal is this? I assume it's his journal. What's his name again? Untur? Oh, it's Mason. Mason. This is what Vamir came to call me. Oh, so it's a new name. There's nothing wrong with the name, although I know, deep down at my core, my real name is very different. Even after so long since I arrived on Neyyah, my memory has not fully returned to me. I know this frustrates Vamir. He wishes to understand, but I know he has already constructed stories in his head regards my whereabouts and the connection with the Quilivian. One night, perhaps a month after I arrived in Neyyah, once Vamir had made sure I looked like one of the Olujurians? Yeah, Olujurians, with the mark of Olujay drawn on the side of my face, I recalled a dream to Vamir. I could only piece together certain parts of it. There was a portal opening up before me. Purple rocky outcrops surrounded me, and light exploded out of the portal ahead. I was being lured into it. I heard voices behind me, and upon looking back, I could see 4 cloaked figures, spaced apart from one another by at least 2 meters. And a crowd of people stood behind them, purple rock everywhere. I was inside some sort of cavern. Before long, the light of the portal enshrouded me, and in that moment I noticed something dark and hideous emerging from the haze above me. 2 eyes, a bright yellow, while another as black as shadow, centered by a fiery red light. A deep, thunderous growling sound erupted through my ears, growing louder the further I allowed the light of the portal to take my whole body, my whole mind, my whole soul, until I vanished. Vamir had discovered me at the Palaska Shrine in Pinorvia Point. I was naked and unconscious. He recalls noticing purple rock dust on my skin. Vamir believes the Pelska was connected by the appearance here on Neyyah. Vamir believes the Pelska was connected with my appearance here on Neyyah. It's hard for me to recall faces or names. I know I had a family, and people who cared for me, and I know I had been sent here for a reason. One name does surface in my mind, sweeping away the strange purple dust of mystery and making things in my life as clear as the Feamor sun that bathes my skin. Smolax. It only pains me when I think of it. Boiling my blood, clawing at my skin. My heart breaks at the grief this name has caused, to the people, the faces, the souls I long to remember. Smolax. I shall find him. Maybe more will come to me as time passes. I hope so. Something unusual happened to me the other day. Vamir had instructed me to go down to the Spore docks to replace the safe there, holding the Neyyah activation key, but upon traversal through the Pelorian portal, the safe unlocked itself. I was certain the safe had been locked before its transit through the portal. Vamir also informed me that such safes have exploded while being sent through the Pelorian portals. After a few days, the portals seemed to have been given a complete upgrade. There's no problem now, but the Shryuki portals continued to cause problems, with the possible closure of these portals entirely. Vamir hadn't explained to me the lock mechanisms for the safes, but at least I know a way to unlock one if I ever needed to do so. I witnessed Vamir setting up one of these strange, weird lantern-looking devices down by the Jalud arrival station. I've seen the other day. There's a little bit of text right above the picture. I've seen some of these planted in the waters of the Neyyah heater chamber too. I believe it may be related to an experiment he wants to be part of. I'm not too sure what it's all about, but I have a feeling it's somehow connected with Olujay. If I can get to Olujay, I can get to Smolux. After looking at the weird lantern object, I've noticed it's connected to a manhole cover. One which always seems to be locked, and I can only assume must be opened remotely. What is he hiding in there? The other day he left the door to the lab's basement unlocked at the lobby area. I managed to climb down to a small chamber, which I can only assume was once used for storage but has now been filled with strange contraptions. One which I have seen before. At least a part of it, before he proceeded to set everything up in the Lodvik Tower on the Neyyah pools. He has since sealed that top floor off as well. Is that sealed with a C? That's an S? That doesn't look like an S to me. I think that's a C. Yeah, it's not an S, because that's an S. I felt insane. He has since sealed that top floor off as well. What are you up to, Vamir? Fueling my suspicions, Vamir has been spending a lot of time at the Penorvia Point lately. That ancient shrine. It almost calls out to me in my sleep, awakening something in me which has so far lied dormant throughout my whole life, until now. So many questions. Traveling here to Neyyah caused a fog to enshroud my memories. I'm not sure if this was an expected side effect of the traversal. All I know is that Pelska and Smolux are important elements to my reasons for being here. Things have started to come back to me. It's important that I keep these entries concealed from now on, just in case. Survivors. They would talk to the Pelskas. For some reason I struggle to remember that name. That creature's eyes. Gazing deep into my soul from above the bright haze of the portal from my dream. It tries to stop me from remembering. What is this creature? All I know is Vamir is drawn to the Pelskas. They seem to lie dormant, hidden from the world. I am aware, from the memories I have managed to salvage from the grip of that beast staring back at me from my dream, that the Pelskas never visited my home, Quilivia. And Quilivia, the very place I was sent from. 4 rulers sent me here. People of wisdom and old age, survivors from a betrayal bestowed upon their world so long ago by Smolux. Bezalta, their home world. I'm here to reclaim it for them, to discover where Smolux lies, and only then will I be able to uncover the whereabouts of my people. A gateway with a name I have heard spoken of so many times throughout the years, the Quilivian. So Quilivia and Quilivian are different? Let's see. The whereabouts of my people. I feel like it's just somewhat awkwardly phrased, but they mean... I think they just mean it's the gateway back to where he came from when he was sent here. But it's just saying the whereabouts of my people. Like, where are my people? It's like, well, you know where they are. They're in Quilivia, where you were. So the Quilivian is the gateway to Quilivia. Once open, my people can enter this world. We shall take back what is rightfully ours. I've noticed Vamir has been using the salt pages a lot more. He's hiding things. I don't blame him. Of course, I do the same thing myself, and I also introduced him to it. Or, shall I say, he discovered it himself, finding a way to read some of the writing in an old journal I had brought with me to Neyyah when I'd first arrived. I no longer have this book. Well, he took it from me. It's kind of an agency-defying bit. That's rude. But also, it's funny that I was, like, pointing out how he should really be using the salt trick on his own journal. And in the next room, we have a guy who is using the salt trick on his journal. To the point where I was, like, second-guessing myself. I'm like, no, I don't think that any of his journal was censored that way. And also... I don't know how effective it is to use this here, because you already know that Vamir knows this trick, so he can read this text whenever he wants to, unless you've already set boundaries, because I guess if he does read it with the salt, it reveals that he's read it, because you can tell he read it, because the salt has revealed it. So at the very least, it's a bit like when you... kind of like doing that trick where you put like a hair on your doorway in like spy movies to be able to tell when somebody's been in your room. Ah, my ribs. Trying to move to a different position. I didn't really understand much of the writing myself, having very little memory of the mind who had bound the ink to page. But now I do recall beautiful messages left behind by my grandfather, my mother, and my sister, and I try to put them aside. Otherwise, I become swallowed up by the pain that they are no longer with me. Yet I am fueled by the vision of my success in opening the Quilivian, freeing my people, and being reunited with my family once again. I chose this path. The four rulers trusted me to save their world. I will not fail. My grandfather. More memories snaked their way to the surface of what seemed to be an endless desert of unknown, of confusion, suffocating my mind for so long. I know now why I had to rid myself from that journal. Grandfather's death at the purple caves of Quilivia overshadows my happier memories of him, and I had to burn that book, only to have a stranger and Olujay take our ways of hiding our writing, concealing vital information, thoughts, and prayers, and mold it into something to satisfy his own needs. Vamir wasn't able to uncover much of my journal, from what I can recall. However, he did get me to work very quickly in creating a similar ink, using flora found here on Neyyah. At first, he found the Gefunke mushrooms to be quite favorable, but then, after adding the Warlet flower into the mix, he created an ink which worked almost as well as the ink I had used back in Quilivia. This is interesting, because it seems like he kind of doesn't like Vamir, even though Vamir seems to trust and work with him. Like, he's keeping secrets from Vamir, and he has plans going against these people. He resents Vamir, even if Vamir is himself somewhat worshipping of his people's culture and kind of co-opting a lot of their stuff. He's like, fuck this guy, because he's one of the people that still is ultimately responsible for what's happening here. The Old One. I have heard this muttered by Vamir in his sleep. I went out to the Bannock's computer last night to check the status of the Neyyah heater chamber, heard him through the closed doors of his quarters. The Old One. What does this mean? He has been working on some strange devices down at Pinorvia Point. There's an old building down there, circular in shape, built very close to the Pelska Shrine. I have seen sketches of such buildings that the survivors had drawn over the years. If I recall correctly, they were used for weapons storage during the Fizaltian reign. Now, something else. Something Vamir is creating. But for what? And how does this connect with the Pelska? Something is being planned between them, and it's connected with that building. And those weird machines he has built down there. That's it. I know now. There are two powers on Neyyah which serve as transmitters to the Jalud portal here on the lab. I know Vamir had some lock systems put in place to keep the tower secure, but I am also aware that he uses Jalud to return to Olujay. He must have it running all the time, surely. Maybe the lock systems don't even exist. They're just a way to distract me. What else could those towers be used for? There's a task Vamir wants me to finish by the end of the day, collecting old heater shells from the Neyyah zone. He wants them brought back here from the lab. He seems protective of them, or at least one of them. Maybe Smolx is getting too close. I remember the symbol patterns just as much as I remember the correct colors needed for the crystal block mechanisms. If anything, it's Vamir who needs to worry about forgetting them. His mind isn't as sharp as it used to be. Perhaps he is having the same dreams as I had. That creature's eyes are starting to haunt him too. Anyway, After this task is done, I shall prepare myself to get on board the Jalud and travel to Olujay. I've been waiting for far too long. Now is the time. My people's time. Smolax, I'm coming for you. So we met Mason right when he was about to try to kill Smolax, but instead he blew up when he went through the portal. Either because it's one of those ones that explode like what happened with the safes. Like it's a malfunction that's just genuinely random. Or Smolax specifically has anticipated being attacked by Vamir and booby-trapped the door to kill him, not anticipating that Mason would be caught in the blast instead. Not sure. What I am sure of is I think I've spent like half of this playthrough reading journals and notes so far, so I am eager to get back out there next episode.